So we finally got the Mitsurugi cards in Master Duel. And while everyone and their mother is trying to play Mitsurugi with Ryzeal cards, I'm going to be showing you a pure Mitsurugi build with pure Mitsurugi combos. No smelly Ryzeal cards in sight. So if you just want to play a nice and a simpler deck with a combo that's not super long, that's not going to take you 5-10 minutes to complete, and it's still a competent deck, and it's just nice and relaxing and clean to play, and plays less bricks and so on and so forth. Lots of room for non-engine, all that stuff. Give this deck a shot. Just pure Mitsurugi. None of you can play with Ryzeal later if you want, but I'm just throwing you an alternative option out there if you don't want to play the Ryzeal cards, because many people do not like the Ryzeal cards, me included. So yeah, the first combo I'm gonna show you is just the one card Habakiri combo. This is also very similar to the one card Preparation of Rites combo. We also play Preparation of Rites in this build, and it's essentially just going to be the same thing as Prep Rites, just adds Habakiri to hand, plus you add a Mirror, which I'll get to the difference later on, but we also use Mirror in the one card Habakiri combo as well, so it's mostly similar. But yeah, we're going to start with using Habakiri's effect. You reveal Habakiri in hand, and then you can special summon a Mitsurugi monster from your deck, then tribute one monster you control. So most of the time, the majority of the time, you're going to reveal Habakiri, and you're going to special summon Saji from deck. And when you special summon Saji from deck, you're going to immediately just tribute the Saji. All of these Mitsurugi cards get effects when they're tributed. So by special summoning Saji from deck, then immediately tributing it, we get the triggers Saji's effect when it's tributed, and when it's tributed, you get to add a Mitsurugi spell trap from deck to your hand. So here, we're going to be adding Prayers to our hand for this one card combo. So next, we're going to activate Prayers. When you activate this card, you can also tribute a reptile monster in your hand or field. So I'm going to tribute the Habakiri in our hand, and when you tribute a monster for Prayers effect, usually it has two effects. You can either add a Mitsurugi monster from your deck to your hand, or you take 800 and then special summon one Mitsurugi monster from your hand or graveyard. If you tribute a monster to activate Mitsurugi Prayers, then you get to activate both these effects in sequence. So we get to just activate both. So here we get to add a Mitsurugi monster from our deck to your hand. So I'm going to add a Aramasa. Then we're also going to special summon the Saji that we just tributed. So we're going to special summon back the Saji, and then I'm going to we're going to activate Habakiri's effect, because when Habakiri gets tributed, all the ritual monsters, when they're tributed, they also have an additional effect where they can add any Mitsurugi card from your deck to your hand. So Habakiri is going to add our Mitsurugi ritual spell from our deck to our hand. The ritual monster also can special summon itself back if it was special summoned properly. Obviously, the Habakiri that we just tributed was not ritual summoned properly, so we can't special summon it back, but don't worry, we'll get to that later. Next, the Aramasa that we just searched off of the Prayers, we can normal summon the Aramasa, and then we're going to use Aramasa's effect, and we're going to add a copy of Murakumo to our hand. And next, we're going to overlay Aramasa and Saji into Gallant Granite, and we're going to use Gallant Granite. We're going to get the search out of the way early before, going into Nibiru range, and we're going to detach Aramasa and add a Nibiru to hand. So this combo involves adding Nibiru to hand, because Nibiru is really broken in this deck, because Nibiru tributes monsters. And as I mentioned before, all of our Mitsurugi monsters get additional effects when they're tributed. So when we Nibiru the field, all our Mitsurugi monsters are just going to float and get us additional advantage back, and our opponent is not going to get anything back, because they're unless they're playing Mitsurugi themselves. So Nibiru is very good because it's a board wipe that basically just generates you more advantage. And it's very hard for decks to play around the Nibiru while also playing into our deck's end board, as you'll see later after we finish this combo. But yeah, now that we have the Nibiru in our hand, we can activate Mitsurugi Ritual. So Mitsurugi Ritual has two effects. You can either ritual summon a monster from your deck by tributing monsters from our hand or field, or we can ritual summon a monster from our hand by tributing monsters from our deck. So usually when you activate, when you use Mitsurugi Ritual, you're gonna use both these effects. Okay, you're gonna both ritual summon a monster from hand and ritual summon a monster from deck each turn. But the first time you use Mitsurugi Ritual, you're usually gonna sack. You're usually going to try to ritual summon a monster from hand first. So you're going to the Murakuma that we just added to our hand of the Aramasa. We're going to ritual summon this, and we're going to be tributing Nightsword Serpent and a Kusanagi from deck. In this case, we hard drew the Kusanagi, but if we didn't hard draw the Kusanagi, we would tribute the Kusanagi from deck, and you tribute both Nightsword plus Kusanagi to ritual summon the Murakumo, and then the Nightsword Serpent is going to trigger, and also the Kusanagi is going to trigger, and the Kusanagi adds back the Mitsurugi Ritual, so that we can use the same Mitsurugi Ritual again. Because Mitsurugi Ritual is not a once per turn, it's only you can use each effect once per turn, and it has 2 different effects. So we're going to special back to the Nightsword Serpent, and next we're going to activate Mitsurugi Ritual again, and Mitsurugi Ritual, we're going to this time ritual summon a monster from deck, so we're going to ritual summon Futsu from deck by tributing the Murakumo. So it's tribute the Murakumo, special the Futsu, and now because the Murakumo was tributed, now its effect triggers. Now we get to add a Mitsurugi card from our deck to our hand. So in this case, I'm gonna just show you the full max ceiling combo. So in this case, we're gonna add Mitsurugi Mirror to hand, and then because the Ameno Murakumo was ritual summoned properly, we also get to special summon it back after it was tributed. So that's nice. And now I'm going to activate the Mitsurugi Mirror, and Mitsurugi Mirror can ritual summon a reptile monster from our hand or graveyard. So that Habakiri that we tributed way back early in the turn that we sent for prayers, we can now ritual summon this Habakiri from grave by tributing the Futsu. So now we special summon back the Habakiri, and then because the Futsu was tributed, we get to trigger the Futsu now, and then the Futsu can add us our Mitsurugi Great Purification. This is just a counter app. This is just a Omni Negate essentially. So an Omni Negate on the end board, and then special summon back Futsu, and now we have all of these bodies on the field. We can overlay the Murakumo plus the Habakiri into a Photon Lord, and then we can link the Nightsword Serpent plus Gallant Granite into an IP Masquerena, and then we also can set the Great Purification as an Omni Negate. So just the 1-card combo, we get an IP Masquerena, number 90 Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, plus the Futsu, plus the Nibiru in hand. So the Futsu, now we'll go over what the ritual monsters actually do. So the Futsu on field, this first line of text is the important part. If your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon a reptile monster from your graveyard. Notice there's no once per turn in that effect. So, yeah, anytime your opponent special summons, you get to special summon back a reptile monster from your graveyard. So they can special summon as many times as they want, and then every time they special summon, you get to summon back a Mitsurugi monster from our graveyard. We get to summon this back, we get to summon this back, we get to summon this back, so on and so forth, until we're out of monster zones, essentially. And all of these monsters, these main deck Mitsurugi monsters, they have an additional effect to where if a reptile monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can tribute this card instead. So anytime, basically, as long as they special summon, we'll always have protection for all of our monsters. We have this IP Masquerena. What are we going to make with the IP Masquerena? We're going to make a Dino Mundo. So when Dino Mundo is special summon, we get to spin a card back. Also, Dino Mundo can reborn a ritual monster from our graveyard. The ritual monster we're going to reborn is going to be this Murakumo. So first of all, the Murakumo attached to Galaxy Eyes, you're going to use Galaxy Eyes effect, and you're going to want to detach the Murakumo first to get it into grave. And then Murakumo, when it's special summon, it's basically a Raigeki. It nukes your opponent's board. It's also a one-time, Ice Bear or General Raiho, where if your opponent activates effect, you can make them discard a card to resolve the effect, or it gets negated. So it's just extra advantage there. It's also like a board wipe, as mentioned. So there's a lot of layer interruption in this, and also don't forget the Nibiru in hand as the last resort, plus the Great Purification. We also have a secondary trap, a spell trap that you can search. If you already drew the Purification, you can add the Magatama. And Magatama is also just another pop as well, which is like not part of the searching combo. We just kind of hard drew it. So yeah. So, for example, let's see an example of how to play out this end board and your interruptions. So our opponent's on the danger loner. So the danger solo mode special summons a lot of monsters. So yeah, they're gonna so on and so forth. Just let them cook a bit. And come on, yeah, okay, danger. Okay, there's a danger monster. They're gonna discard a Nessie, special summon Bigfoot, and then the Nessie triggers, and that's gonna give us our chance to special summon, so we get to special summon back any of our Mitsurugi monsters, so we get to summon back this. And yeah, this summons back. And we get a search off this as well, because it was special summon, so we get to add another spell trap to our hand for follow-up. And see if they keep special summoning. So yeah, there's the Dangerous Thunderbird, and then they pop the Thunderbird, which is very funny. I'm just going to activate like Photon Lure now. I'm going to detach the Murakumo to get it into the grave, so that we can have access to revive it whenever we want to. So yeah, let's see if they keep special summoning. And yeah, okay, they're going to activate Dark Wolverine Shirt. No, just get rid of that. They're going to special summon again. So they're going to special summon again. And this time, we can summon back Futsu. And Futsu, we can either summon back another... We can actually summon back the Amino Murakumo right now, or we can just summon back another monster and just hold the Murakumo engraved so that we can special summon it whenever we want to. So I'll just... since we have another monster zone left, I'll just special summon another monster back, get more advantage. Let's add back the Mirror to hand. See if our opponent keeps cooking or not. If they special summon again, I might just reborn it back. So they're going to go into Nightmare Phoenix, pop this. I'm just gonna actually just omni-negate this right now. So I'm gonna tribute the Futsu, so we can pop the omni-negate, negate, destroy. The Futsu gets tributed. Because the Futsu was tributed, it can now bring itself back. So we can add a card for follow-up, summon back the Futsu. Nice. And here, do we have any more extensions? So we could, for example, summon back IP Masquerade. We could make the Dino Mundo right now. Dino Mundo. And Dino Mundo would spin back a card if we wanted to, but we can also use Dino Mundo, for example, to summon back our Ameno Murakumo, special summon back the Murakumo, and the Murakumo can then Raigeki our opponent's field as well, in case they have any more follow-up. Also, we have the Nibiru in hand still that we haven't used, and we have a lot of other cards in hand. So yeah, that's just an example of like, just a one card combo still gets a modest amount of interruptions. This is a decent amount of interruptions still for like a mid-range deck. And yeah. Alright, so backtracking a little bit, this is the same combo. If you wanted to respect a late Nibiru at this point, you wouldn't activate Mitsurugi Mirror. Instead, when you revive back Ameno Murakumo and you search a Mitsurugi card, instead of searching Mirror, you would just search the Great Purification directly. And then you wouldn't use Mirror, you would just link off the Night Sword Serpent and the Gallant Granite here into IP Masquerena, and you would not use the mirror to rituals to summon the Habakiri in graveyard by sacking the Futsu, and then you wouldn't make the Photon Lord. But by not doing that, here you haven't used the Futsu's effect yet, which means that if they held Nibiru for this long, and if they wanted to Nibiru you, they would Nibiru the Futsu, and because the Futsu was tributed, the Futsu would still come back. So you would still end with a Futsu plus a Nibiru in hand, and because you have the Futsu on field, the Futsu can still revive back the Murakumo whenever your opponent special summons, so you still get the Murakumo as well. That's if you really wanted to respect a late Nibiru. If you really are afraid of your opponent holding Nibiru for that long, that is the more conservative way. You just don't use the Mitsurugi mirror, and you don't make the extra Photon Lord on the end board. Because yes, ironically, making Photon Lord on the end board makes you more open to Nibiru, because it makes you use the Futsu effect. But here, because you haven't used Futsu, the Futsu will be basically your check against Nibiru. But yeah, that's the more conservative approach. But the rest of the combo is the same before that point as well. So yeah, and you would still get purification because you would just search this instead of searching the mirror. So yeah. So the next one card combo is going to be Aramasa. So you're going to normal summon Aramasa, and when you normal summon Aramasa, we're going to add Habakiri since we didn't already have it, and we're going to trigger Habakiri, and we're going to special summon and send Saji. Saji is going to add us our Mitsurugi Ritual to hand. Pretend that we don't already have it in hand, like this is just the one card combo, the other 4 cards in our hand don't really exist. So yeah, we go Mitsurugi Ritual first instead of Prayers, since in the Habakiri combo we used Prayers to get access to Aramasa to get to an early rank 4, but since we already have access to Aramasa, we can hold off on using Prayers until later in the combo. So instead we can use the Mitsurugi Ritual that we just added, and we're going to Ritual Summon from hand the Habakiri by tributing Night Sword Serpent and the Kusanagi from deck. So special the Habakiri, and then that's going to trigger both Night Sword Serpent and the Kusanagi to add the Mitsurugi Ritual back to our hand. So Night Sword Serpent is going to special summon itself back, and then add the Ritual back to our hand, and then we can overlay our 2 level 4s into our Gallant Granite to just get our Nib search out of the way, and detach Aramasa at the Nib. And next, this Mitsurugi Ritual that we just added back off the Kusanagi, we can Ritual summon out Murakumo from deck by tributing the Habakiri. And now, because the Habakiri was tributed, we get to use Habakiri and add our Mitsurugi Prayers. And then that's going to trigger the Habakiri to special summon itself back. And next, you can use the Prayers that we just added. Prayers is going to sack the Murakumo, so we haven't used Murakumo's effect, and now we get to trigger both of Prayers' effects, so we get to add our Futsu from our deck to our hand, so we still get access to the Futsu, and then we special summon back the Saji, and then because after the Prayers tributed the Murakumo can special summon itself back because it was tributed, and we can add our Mitsurugi Mirror to hand. Since we've already used our Mitsurugi Ritual twice, Mitsurugi Mirror is how we get our final Ritual summon, and summon back the Murakumo, and can link our Saji plus Gallant Granite into IP Masquerena, and you can use the Mitsurugi Mirror to Ritual summon the Futsu by tributing the Habakiri, and now we end on still end on IP Masquerena plus Murakumo plus Futsu. So now the Murakumo starts on the field at the start of the turn. So now at any time, when they activate an effect, we can just make him discard a card to resolve it. And in order to get the to get the Raigeki effect, we're going to IP Masquerena, and we're going to IP Masquerena link the IP Masquerena plus the Murakumo into a Dynamundo, and then we can special summon back the Murakumo with either the Dynamundo or the Futsu, either our choice. So we still get the board wipe, and we still have the Nibiru in hand. So like this is a noticeably weaker combo than the Habakiri, but it's still okay. We would prefer to open the Habakiri combo, obviously. That's why we're playing more copies of Habakiri than Aramasa. But Aramasa is still a fine one-card combo. And considering the rest of our hand is likely hand traps and non-engine, you know, like we have here, we even hard drew the Great Purification. So yeah, this is still a fine one-card combo. Okay, so the last one-card combo is going to be just Mitsurugi Prayers, and with this deck, make sure you're always toggled on at the start of the duel, just in case you have to start with Prayers, because this is a quick play spell. You can use this in a draw phase to play around Droll as much as possible, like we're doing so here. And because this is just a one-card combo, and we're assuming we have no other reptile monsters, we don't have anything to tribute for Prayers, so all we can do is just add a Mitsurugi monster to our hand. So we're going to add a Habakiri. And next, we're going to activate Habakiri, and I know we have two other Mitsurugi rituals in our hand, but we're going to pretend that we don't have, that these aren't anything, these are just blanks. So we're going to special and tribute Saji, and then Saji is going to add us our copy of Mitsurugi ritual that we totally don't have in our hand already. You know, just play along with me. And now we're going to Mitsurugi ritual, and we're going to ritual summon the Habakiri hand, and we're going to tribute Nightsword Serpent and Aramasa, and then special the Habakiri, and then that's going to trigger Aramasa and Nightsword Serpent. So you can see the Nightsword Serpent is very important if you want to do this rank 4 play to get Galen to search Nibiru with Galen Granite. So Aramasa is going to search us our Kusanagi, because we haven't normal summon yet, so we can add Kusanagi, normal summon Kusanagi, and then Kusanagi will add back our Mitsurugi ritual this way. This way we get 2 level 4 bodies on the field while adding the ritual back. That way we can exceed into Galen Granite, and then Galen Granite will detach the Kusanagi and add the Nibiru to our hand. And now we use the Mitsurugi ritual that we just added back, and we're going to ritual summon Murakumo. I keep wanting to say Amino Murakumo, but like that's kind of redundant because it really just, its name is just Murakumo. Save myself some breath. And yeah, special the Murakumo, and then that's gonna trigger the Habakiri, and Habakiri will just add us our purification right now. So we're not gonna extend any further, and just the Habakiri comes back, and then we just link the Habakiri plus the Galen Granite into IP. And here we also do sort of play around Nibiru a little bit this way, because if they want to Nibiru us, at this point we haven't used Murakumo's effect yet. So if they Nibiru us, Murakumo will get tributed, and then Murakumo will come back, and then it can blow up the Nibiru. First of all, it's gonna make our opponent discard a card for the Nibiru if they want to Nibiru us here, and then it's gonna come back and blow up the Nibiru too. And then we still have the purification to sack the Murakumo on our opponent's turn to negate a card, and then the Murakumo will come back again, and then it can still blow up more cards that way. But yeah, we also have 5 other cards in hand too, including the Nibiru. So yeah, the unfortunate thing about the Prayers combo is that we don't get access to our Futsu, because if we wanted to search Galen Granite, we can't both search Galen Granite and get access to Futsu at the same time. So yeah, you either have to pick between Nibiru or Futsu in this case. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. So like in order of the 1-card combos, I would say, Habakiri and Rites prep are the best 1-card combos, and then it's followed by, I would say, Aramasa and then Mitsurugi Prayers. They're Prayers and Aramasa are slightly worse, in different ways. They still provide you a lot of interruption. They're still fine, but they don't get you the full board like a Habakiri or pre-prep would. But yeah, those are just the basic combos. Again, and for the most part, these combos are really simple. They shouldn't take too long if you just run through them by yourselves. So yeah, and next I'll show you what a pure Mitsurugi list looks like. So here's what a pure Mitsurugi list would look like. And first, I guess we have to discuss why you would want to play a pure list over a hybrid, such as, Ryzeal Mitsurugi, for example, which I think is probably the most popular Mitsurugi build. Because, well, first of all, you have more space for non-engine, and you have more space for hand traps. So just because you're not trying to fit in an entire other engine into the deck. So like you will see a Ryzeal Mitsurugi deck lists that run more cards than this pure Mitsurugi list, while also having less hand traps at the same time. And also like you have less bricks in the pure build, because a Mitsurugi engine itself does run quite a few bricks, like just innately, because you have cards like Saji and Kusanagi and Night Sword Serpent, which you don't want to draw. You want them in a deck to tribute off the Mitsurugi ritual. And then if you're combining this with another engine like Ryzeal, for example, then Ryzeal itself also runs additional bricks itself, such as Node Ryzeal, Sword Ryzeal, Cross, all that stuff. So you end up running a ton of bricks if you try to combine this with like a Ryzeal deck, for example. So you have a hybrid list has significantly less room for non-engine while simultaneously running a lot more bricks. So sometimes your hands quality can be a very high variance compared to a pure list. Also, the pure list is less vulnerable to some of the blowout and some of the floodgate hand traps that people are playing. A Mitsurugi Ryzeal list, it has a higher ceiling, definitely. However, it is also, at the same time, more vulnerable to cards like Droll and more vulnerable to cards like Fool Loss, for example. A pure list does not really care about Fool Loss at all. Like, you literally only summon from the extra deck like 2 times, which is once for Gallant Granite and once for IP. And like, you don't even have to make a Gallant Granite if you don't feel like it. Like, if you're under Fuwa and you don't want to give your opponent extra draws, just don't make the Gallant Granite, and then like Fuwa is like literally just an upstart goblin. And also for Droll, I know it looks like this deck list gets hit by Droll quite a bit, but I mean, it gets hit significantly less than Ryzeal, because if the Ryzeal Mitsurugi list, or if the Ryzeal Mitsurugi version gets hit by Droll, then sometimes they just get cut off completely from their Mitsurugi engine entirely, because they have to bridge into the Mitsurugi engine off the Pharaoh Imps frequently. And obviously, if you get Drolled, then you lose that bridge. You also like lose dual drive potentially. Like, you have a lot of high impact cards you can't activate under Droll. Whereas if you get Drolled in pure, at the very least, if you have access to like a ritual spell, like a Prayers or a Mitsurugi ritual, you can still ritual summon tribute monsters from deck. You tribute a Night Sword Serpent, summon back the Night Sword Serpent. You can still make IP plus a ritual monster like Futsu or Murakumo through under a Droll very easily, which is like, that's like most of your end board already. So you are hurt significantly less by Droll. There are some hands where like you can't play around it, but like for the most part, like you have a better chance of playing around Droll. And Droll is going to be very popular because of the prevalence of Ryzeal and Mitsurugi variants. So those are like some advantages to playing a pure build. Like it's not just strictly worse than a hybrid build like Ryzeal, for example. There are actual advantages, and like you have to decide for yourself whether those advantages mean or are important to you or not. So yeah. Anyways, onto the deck list. So this deck has we're running 16 hand traps. So like the hand traps are whatever you want except for the one Nibiru. If you don't want to play Gallant Granite, that's fine. You don't have to play the Nibiru. But if you want to play Nibiru, the Nibiru is part of your combo with Gallant Granite. So there is that. But other than that, you can just run whatever hand traps you want. So like for example, Droll is probably going to be good now, and Fuwa Loss is just just a generically good card versus Malice and most like every Ryzeal variant. And besides that, Imperm, Ash, Maxi. There's one Dominance Impulse. So Dominance Impulse is kind of weird. I don't know if Dominance Impulse is going to be good or not, because Dominance Impulse is obviously good versus Malice and it's good versus the Mitsurugi cards, but it's not good versus the Ryzeal cards. So like if you're playing against Mitsurugi Ryzeal, sometimes Dominance Impulse just like doesn't do enough because they just do Ryzeal plays, and like you can't, and sometimes they just win off Ryzeal. But it does hit the Mitsurugi cards if they ever decide to bridge into Mitsurugi. It also, I'm just playing one because Malice, I suspect, is still going to be a deck that people play. And Malice is definitely going to play Dominance Impulse, so this is like just a relevant cross-out target, since Dominance Impulse is pretty good against the Mitsurugi engine as well. But yeah, and then like onto the engine itself, you have one Night Sword Serpent, one Kusanagi, one Sachi. These are the bricks, as I mentioned. These are the cards that you want to tribute from deck with Mitsurugi Ritual. You don't really want to draw into these, but if you draw into them, it's fine, because these Ritual can also just tribute from hand as well. It's just not ideal. To Aramasa, you can maybe run 3 as well if you feel like you're not opening enough starters. Aramasa is a 1-card starter, so you can't bump this up if you want to. Double Murakumo, because this is a pure build. I'm pretty sure every hybrid Mitsurugi build only runs 1 Murakumo, so if you're not interested in playing pure and you only want to play the Mitsurugi engine, you technically don't need 2 Murakumo. But in a pure build, when you're focusing more on the Mitsurugi engine itself, then having the second one as a backup is pretty nice. And then like 1 Futsu, triple Habakiri, because Habakiri is the one ritual that's an actual starter by itself, and 3 prep rights, which basically just adds Habakiri and a Mitsurugi Mirror to hand. Now, it really, really sucks ass if you draw prep rights plus Mitsurugi Mirror at the together, because then basically it becomes a Garnet. You can't activate a prep rights because the only target you can add off the prep rights is the mirror. So yeah, you can't add Mitsurugi Ritual, unfortunately. So rights becomes dead if you hard draw mirror. So that's unfortunate. But like the power of rights is just like too strong. It's like assuming you don't get drolled. Obviously, it does leave you open to getting drolled a little harder, but it is the strongest 1-card starter in your deck, because it not only gets you your best 1-card starter in Habakiri, but it also gets you a mirror to help play through other interruption too. And also, at the end of the day, you do search mirror during your combo, but if you already have a mirror in hand, then you can search another Mitsurugi spell and trap as an additional interruption as well. Speaking of, so 3 prayers, prayers is a 1-card starter, and it is also necessary for every combo line. And then like the 2 Mitsurugi spell traps are Purification and Magatama. Purification is just an Omni Negate, and Magatama is it's a hop. And you don't have to run both, because technically you only really search one during your turn. But you can run both if you wanna just like have the flexibility, because Magatama is obviously much better going first, whereas or much better going second, whereas Purification is way better going first. And since this is the best of 1, it's not like you can side one out for like certain duels. Like you just have to decide whether you want to play it or not. And yeah, Magatama is also another. Technically, Magatama is also another way to ritual summon. Like you have you're limited to like 3 ritual summons in this deck, 2 off the Mitsurugi Ritual and then 1 off the mirror. So if you play Magatama gives you a potential for a 4th ritual summon that you can also use during the battle phase, because it's a quick place to push for more damage as well. Because sometimes this deck also, despite having huge monsters, like namely Ame no Murakumo, it still struggles to OTK a lot of the time. But if you have a Magatama, that makes the thresholds easier. And yeah, that's like the main deck. Pretty straightforward, honestly, for the most part. The extra deck, like you can tell, there's so much room in the extra deck. Like there's a random shit that you probably will never make, but you can get away with it because it honestly doesn't matter. There's only a few extra deck monsters that you actually need. Like you really just need Gallon Granite, Dugaris for like in case you hard draw the Nibiru, then like you want a secondary rank 4 you can make instead of Gallon Granite. You IP Masquerena, Dynamundo, SP, and like honestly those are pretty much the only ones that are really, oh yeah, and Photon Lord. Like these are pretty much the only extract monsters are actually really important. The rest is just whatever the hell you want to play. Like it's vibe based. Like you have a bunch of other rank 4s, like Evil Swarm Nightmare, which you can make because it needs 2 level 4 dark monsters, and every Mitsurugi monster is technically a dark monster, although it doesn't work with Night Sword Serpent. So like that's that's kind of Night Sword Serpent is kind of how you make most rank 4s. So like this is probably like the most cuttable out of the bunch. King of the Pharaoh Imps is like not really important in pure because you don't need to bridge into Mitsurugi because your entire deck is Mitsurugi anyway. So like you already have you have to like use 2 Mitsurugi monsters to go into King of the Pharaoh Imps to search another Mitsurugi monster in the first place. Like this doesn't come up nearly as often as you would think in a pure build as opposed to any hybrid build. Exciton Knight is just like random. It's just Exciton Knight. You have a Ding Girsu because all your rituals are level 8s, so like you can't go like Ding Girsu into Zeus. Potentially, you probably won't go into that very often, if at all. But like it's an option. Like it's just another thing to consider. Typhon's good. You don't turn it off because you're running Impulse, not instead of Purge. You have Dark for like the mirror match, I suppose, and like Ryzeal Mitsurugi variants. You have Underworld Goddess and Appaloosa, the 2 goddesses, as additional as additional IP targets, because like let's be honest, you're probably never gonna actually hard make Appaloosa or hard make Underworld Goddess in a pure Mitsurugi build. You're only ever probably gonna make it off the IP Master Arena after you special summon back like a ton of your monsters off of the food suit during your opponent's turn. So that's just options to consider. Other options to consider is you can just run Extract, because you can tell because the Extract is not that important. You can just run the Extract. Although I will say that if you run Extract, you probably want to run another copy of IP and another copy of Dino Mundo. And I'm not sure if everyone has a second copy of IP Masquerena. I know most people don't, because why would you have multiple copies of IP Masquerena? Well, exactly for this deck is like where it comes up if you want to play extra. But like obviously, like if you don't want to craft extra IP Masquerenas, or if you just want to YOLO and just say, oh, I'm not gonna banish my one IP off the extra, it's fine. Like you can go for it. Yeah, that's just something to consider. But yeah, this is pure Mitsurugi. So like, give it a shot before you just go straight to Ryzeal Mitsurugi. Give pure a shot, see if you like it or not. But yeah, and this is probably not going to be the only Mitsurugi deck profile or like combo guide on this channel, because Mitsurugi is, as you can probably tell, Mitsurugi is fucking everywhere in all sorts of decks, in all like every other hybrid deck you can imagine is playing Mitsurugi right now. So probably expect more Mitsurugi content to come.